Let's talk about the past. I was at the beginning. I went along. There was Malmo, Jelisha, Larissa, and then we came over to this side. What I was going to use this video for was to tell you how much I know about the past. Because I understand that you're flailing about in the darkness. This planet had 10 ages of 100 million years each. Impartial brilliance, bloody witch vestibule, Mother Earth, archetype, abacus, rumba, bemur, that's the one that we're in. Te, it, I. 10 ages of 100 million years each. And we are in the 7th age, bemur. And what happened in this age is Anglicanism, when there is the story of the warring giants, Finn McCall, Scotland and Ireland, the Giant's Causeway. Anglicanism, the table, John Virgo, and then it went down to the Sahara, that was maybe a forest at that time, I'm not sure. And there was Islama and Muslima. West Africa and the east of Africa. So what's it called? Oh dear, what's it called? Can I Google it? I can Google it on my phone. West African nations. Oh my God, what does it take to get the answer? Fucking hell, north. The north of Africa in the west. When you say West Africa, oh, there it is, Mauritania. I think that's it, Mauritania. Around there. Islama and Muslima. Muslima was on the other side, Egypt. Sunni and Shia. So first there was Anglicanism. This is, like I said to you, there's 10 ages to this planet archetype. And we are in the 7th age Bemur. And at the beginning of the 7th age Bemur, the dominant civilization was Anglicanism, and we flitted about like vampires. And then after that, the dominant civilization transferred to the north of Africa, and it was Islamism, Islama and Muslima, the love affair, which speaks to what Islam is all about. A love affair, a hero, a cult, a prophet, signs from the sky, meteors, comets, asteroids. And then after that, it was Christianity, Christianism in Central Africa. And then after that, it was Johannesburg, the first Quran. And then after that, we all got on to India, which was attached to Southeast Africa. For the voyage of India to its present location from Southeast Africa, tectonic plates. And there was atavism and primordialism. And that was the first religion of India, atavism. And primordialism actually came from Southeast Asia. But the two came together in India, two different blokes. I know them both. And then we had the Vedas. So the gods were an offspring of atavism and primordialism, because atavism and primordialism are concerned with trees and forests, and the Vedas are actually trees. And you think about the word Upanishads, shads, shadows, the shadows of trees, shady trees. These are actual trees. I don't know if they exist today or if they've been cut down, the Vedic trees and the Upanishad trees. So there was atavism and primordialism. So I'll just go through it again, okay? This planet archetype, 10 ages, starting 666 million years ago, after two worlds collided, Gaia and Amorous, ground together and reformed as the planet archetype, the Amorous world, and the moon. And then there was the ages that I listed up until the 7th age, a bit more. And then it was Anglicanism, Islamism, Christianism, Johannesburg, atavism and primordialism. And the next thing that there was after atavism and primordialism of significance was Hanuman. And he is important because, like myself, he is entrusted with getting it right all the time. And this was in northeast India, 140,000 BC. And this is the time of the Iksha, the brew, and the speaking of Antica, which was a disturbed language. Like Mordorian, which will come later in the story. So there was Hanuman in 140,000 BC, getting it right all the time. And I would not be surprised if Harappan and Mohenjo-Daro do not go back to 140,000 BC. Because all these cultures were clustered in the north of India, etc. Because we're talking about dominant civilizations, Anglicanism, Islamism, Christianism, Johannesburg, atavism and primordialism, Hanuman. That was the significant thing of the time. So that Hanuman was 140,000 BC. And after Hanuman, it was David, Israel, 120,000 BC. And by my mirror in my bedroom, I have Hanuman on one side and Goliath on the other. Because Hanuman represents getting it right all the time, and Goliath represents getting it wrong all the time. So 140,000 BC Hanuman, 120,000 BC David. And then after that, it was the Aryans, which is where the swastika comes from. And the swastika represents land division in Babylon. The division of the land. And you see that we're hitting markers. The table, the love affair. God, religion, countries, getting it right, heroes, land division. And they were in the Levant. So what's the name of that place? Lebanon, I believe. And after the Aryans, it was Zeus, 80,000 BC. And at the same time as this, I believe there were ice ages, which halve in number. (320,000 BC), 160,000 BC, after Zeus, 80,000 BC, and then in 40,000, 20,000, and the one in 10,000 I'll speak about in a minute, and it was subverted by Krishna. So 80,000 BC, Zeus. And then 60,000 BC, Jove, Rome, the Seven Hills, and then 40,000 BC, Aragon, and in the time of Jove, actually, 60,000 BC, inclusivity. Jove allowed Pluto to come and live in Rome. And of course, Zeus would have had a problem with this. And Jove allowed... So in 80,000 BC, it was Zeus and Dis, white and black. And the underworld actually means South Africa. Because Zeus could fly, and he knew that the African continent was on the bottom half of the world, and that's why it's called the underworld. So 80,000 BC is Zeus, the white god, Dis, the black god. 60,000 BC, Jove, the white god, Pluto, the black god. And Jove allowed Pluto to come and live in Rome. But by 40,000 BC, it had turned into a problem, and Aragon probably had to go to war to defend the fairies and elves that he'd brought into the world with white women, and all the other ones, hobbits, sprites, with the various sections of the white female community. Anyway, after Aragon in 40,000 BC, it was Mirror. So Anglicanism, England, Islamism, North Africa, Christianism, Central Africa, Johannesburg, Southern Africa, Atavism and Primordialism, India, Hanuman, Northeast India, David, Israel, Aryans, Levant, Zeus, Greece, Jove, Rome, Aragon, Spain, Mirror, 20,000 BC, Russia. And he travelled from Russia to England. This was the time of Snow White and the Dark Queen. And this was the time of fairy tales. 20,000 BC, Mirror. And this was the time of symbols. Rapunzel was a symbol. And heroes and villains. I can't remember what the name of the pub is in Crawley, but I can't remember. It's something to do with threshing wheat. And the thresher of the wheat, yes, he could have become a villain. Anyway, that was the time of Mirror, and then it went to Beowulf that had problems as well with a villain, Gretchen. And Beowulf was 15,000 BC, so that was Germany. And that was the time of myths. Between 20,000 and 10,000, it's fairy tales, myths, legends. So I believe that Beowulf is a myth. And those things that flit about in the sky at fractal points in the country, I can't remember what they're called either, but they can turn themselves into any creature they like. And so therefore there was the possibility of turning themselves into monsters, and it could have been like that these monsters were around. Anyway, I believe dragons come from females. They don't actually come from females. Females turn into dragons. And probably males can turn into dragons as well. So that's Beowulf, 15,000 BC. And then after that, it's Gurmat, 12,500 BC, Tibet. And then after that, it's Sinbad 11,500 BC, Saudi Arabia, Yemen. And then after that, it's Krishna, 10,500 BC, India. And that was the time of agriculture, a dedicated step into the modern world, where Krishna subverted the ice ages that, as you recall, halved in number from 320,000 BC, and so there was an ice age due in 10,000 BC, and Krishna cleared the forest and burnt it for global warming. And with where the cleared forest was cleared, there we could have agriculture, and the burning of the wood raised the temperature, so the ice age was offset, and that is why he is memorialized at Göbekli Tepe and by the Sphinx. Göbekli Tepe, because there is the tea pillars, which actually signifies that tea was drunk at Göbekli Tepe and the sites there. It was a place for taking tea and feasting. To commemorialize Krishna, the step into the modern world. And the Sphinx is also commemorializing India because of the link between Egypt and India represented in the lotus flower. So Krishna was 10,500 BC, gave birth to the modern world because of agriculture. And then after that, the heroes were 3 names to 2000 BC, from 10,500 BC to 2000 BC, there were heroes with 3 names. And then from 2000 BC to 2000 AD, heroes with 2 names. And that takes you right up to my birth, 13573. The general is from the beginning. No, the past from the beginning. Last satisfaction. They are the composites of astral bodies, cosmi, that I came across in my wandering. I entered lust, and that's where I found Jelisha. And then I entered satisfaction, and that's where I found Britisher, Larissa. And then after that, we just cut, like I did in this video, to the 10 ages of archetype, the 7th age Bimur. And then after 2000 BC, the 8th civilizations, those inhabited England, the British Isles, Vikings, 2000 BC to 1500 BC, King Lear being a Viking king, 2000 BC, Goths, 1500 BC to 1000 BC, Franks, 1000 BC to 500 BC, Celts, 500 BC to 0, Romans 0 to 500 AD, Anglo-Saxons 500 AD to 1000 AD, Normans 1000 AD to 1500 AD, English 1500 AD to 2000 AD, and then it was the British civilization, but that competed with the global civilization. White Western culture, the East, all these civilizations competing. The British civilization, the globalism, the global civilization, white Western civilization, the Eastern civilization. So I've done my best to recount to you what I know about the past, and in the past I have said much more and gone into detail about these things, but I can't really remember it. All the things that I've discovered thinking about it. And so, I have told you the story. Ten Ages of Archetype, the Seventh Age B'Mor, Anglicanism, Islamism, Christianism, Johannesburg, Atavism and Primordialism, Hanuman, David, Aryan, Zeus, Jove, Aragon, Miral, Beowulf, Gurmat, Sinbad, Krishna, the three names, the two names. That takes you up to my birth in 13573. (1500 BC to 1000 BC), the Goths. That was the time of King Arthur. So I'll just leave it at that.